Hello everyone and welcome to my channel Make It Yourself. Today we are going to make this mini hanging plant. This plant also has these yellow flowers attached to these leaves. So let's get started. So details related to the yarn used and the hook size and the other things required for this video will be available in the description of this video. So do refer the description as well. So we're going to start off using this green yarn and we're going to make a slip knot, and we are going to chain 8. So this chain 8 is the stem part, and then we are making this leaves like the string of pearls kind of plant. So instead of leaves we will be having pearls. So we're going to chain 4 for the pearl. So chain 4, and now into the third stitch from the hook, yarn over and insert your hook into the third stitch and pull a loop through it. Now when you have 3 loops in the hook, pull through 2 of them only. Now yarn over and again insert your hook into the same stitch, pull through it and pull through 2 loops. So this is the second time we are doing that, and yarn over, insert into the stitch, pull through 2 loops only. This is the third set. So here we are yarning over, pulling under the stitch and pulling through 2 loops, and this is the last set. So we will do this a total of 4 times until we have 1 2 3 4 5 loops in the hook, and then we'll pull through all of them. And then we are going to chain 1, and here we have our first pearl. So now into the 4th stitch from the hook we are going to make a slip stitch. So each pearl requires 4 stitches. So this is the 4th. So after this 4 stitches we have 1 pearl ready. So we are going to again chain 8 for the stem. So chain 8, and then we will be chaining 4 extra for the pearl. So here we are going to make the pearls on one side first, and then we'll be working on the pearls on the other side. So here this is chain 4 for the pearl, and again I'm going to show you the same pattern. So into the 3rd stitch, yarn over and pull through the stitch a loop, and pull through 2 stitches or 2 loops, yarn over, insert your hook and pull a loop, pull through 2 loops. Repeat this 4 times so that finally you have 5 loops remaining in the hook. So each time you're pulling through only 2 loops, so that you have finally 5 loops in the hook, and then pull through all of them and then chain 1. So this is also called as a puff stitch. So in the remaining part of the video I'll refer to this part of making the pearl as the puff stitch. So we have slip stitch to the 4th chain, and then we are going to chain 8 for the stem, and then a chain 4 for the pearl. So the length of the vine or length of these strands depends on how long you want it to be. So in today's video we will have a total of, so this is the 3rd pearl we have made on this side. So we'll be making 1 more pearl. So this is the pearl which is at the end or at the top part of this vine. So make the puff stitch and insert your hook into the 4th stitch and make a slip stitch. So now we are going to slip stitch over 4 stitches. So we are going to go from top to bottom, and while doing that we'll be making the pearls on the other side. So after making slip stitches over 4 stitches, we are going to make 4 more chain for the pearl which we are going to make on the other side of the vine. So chain 4, yarn over and insert your hook into the third stitch from the hook and pull through it, pull through 2 loops and yarn over again and pull under the stitch, and repeat the pattern 4 times till you have 5 loops in your hook and pull through all the stitches, and then chain 1 and slip stitch to this 4th stitch or the 4th chain here from the hook. Now slip stitch back into the main stem again. So here you will be slip stitching over the next 9 stitches. So these are the 4 stitches just before we are over the stitch. So this is a stitch where we have the pearl on the other side, so we'll be making a slip stitch into that stitch as well. So that is the 5th stitch. Now make 4 more stitches, so total of 9 slip stitches you are going to make, and after 9 slip stitches you will make the second pearl of the other side. So to make the pearl of the on the other side, we repeat the same pattern of chaining 4, and into the 3rd stitch we will be making the puff stitch, and then we'll be slip stitching it to the 4th stitch, and we'll be repeating the same pattern. So again, over the next 9 stitches we are going to make slip stitches. So make slip stitches over the next 9 stitches. So now again we are going to make a chain of 4 and make the puff stitch to make the pearl, and we're going to slip stitch it, and then we are going to slip stitch over the remaining part of the stem. So you can see that we have 3 pearls on each side and 1 pearl on the top. So so you need not have the same count of pearls for each of the branches. You can change the count. So this is our first branch. So to make the second branch, we are going to chain 8 after from the end of the branch, and then chain 4 for the pearl, and we are going to repeat exactly the same pattern that we did here. And like for the first branch we had like 3 pearls on either side and 1 pearl on top. So for the second branch you can have like 2 pearls on either side and 1 pearl on top. So the lengths of each branch can have different can be different and can have different number of pearls, so that would look more natural. So here this second branch I am making it a little bit shorter compared to the previous one. The pattern remains the same. You're going to chain 8 for the stem and then chain 4 for the pearl. So here you can see this second branch here is ready. So for the second branch I'm not going to slip stitch till the end or till the base of the branch. I'm going to skip the last 2 chains because I don't want all my branches attached to the same point. I want to have a spacing in between so that when I stitch them to the soil it's easier for me. So again I'm going to repeat the same pattern and make more branches. So the number of branches that you want to add depends upon your choice, and you can so here as you can see, finally I am done with all the branches. I have made 1 2 3 4 5 6 branches of different lengths, and there is this gap between of 2 chains between the branches. So you can see I can stitch them in this manner over the soil in a circular manner. So here leave a long tail yarn and you can trim off. And now let's make the flower. So for the flower I'm going to first make a slip knot, and then I'm going to chain 6. So you can make the flowers in any color. I'm using yellow flowers. You can make them in pink, red, or lavender, whatever color you prefer. And it's a very pretty simple pattern to make the flower. So from on the second stitch from the hook, make one single crochet, make another single crochet into the same stitch, and make a third single crochet into the same stitch. So here into each of the chain we are going to make 3 single crochet into each stitch. So when you make this 3 single crochet in each stitch, this chain will start to coil, which will make it look like a flower. So it's a pretty simple pattern, and you do not have to make anything more than a single row of single crochets. So here this is the last stitch, and we're making 3 single crochets into it as well. And as you can see, this has coiled up and it looks like a small flower. So what we're going to do is, on the back side we are going to roll it up, and the point at the base where we feel that it coils up properly, we're going to make a slip stitch there, and then we're going to chain 1 and trim our yarn. This slip stitch at the back is just to make sure that the flower does not um, uncoil or does not come out once we stitch it to the branch. So here we're going to stitch the flowers to the branch at different locations. So there is no right or wrong way of doing it. Here, this first flower, I'm going to stitch it exactly near the top of the top of the branch. So I'm going to pull through both the ends of the tail yarns through 2 different stitches, nearby stitches, and then I'm going to tie 2 knots on the back side. And then these 2 tail yarn, again I'm going to pull to the other side, because I have to stitch them in, and I want to stitch them into the into similar color. So I'm going to pull them back to the other side where the flower is, and now I'm going to stitch them into the flower. So you can, if you leave long tail yarns, you can use a needle also to stitch them into the flower. Here I'm using a smaller crochet hook and then pulling the yarn through few of the existing stitches of the flower. So what this does is it gives a neat finish, and there is no ends poking out. So if you want to secure it even further, you can dab a small amount of fabric glue into the end to the point where we had stitched it in. So here our flower is already stitched to this end of this branch. You can place the flowers in different locations, so you need not place 2 flowers in each branch. Some branches can have 1, or some can have 2. So now we are going to make the basket. So for the basket, make a magic ring and chain 1. Now take the magic ring out of your fingers and into this magic ring. So chain 1 doesn't count as a stitch. We are going to make 8 single crochets into this magic ring. So make 8 single crochets into the magic ring. So once you are done with the 8 single crochets, we are going to pull the tail yarn and close the magic ring. So pull the tail yarn as tight as possible and close the magic ring. And now we are going to work on our next round. So make 1 single crochet on top of the first stitch and mark it using a marker. You can also use a yarn of different color if you don't have a stitch marker. Now into the same stitch, make another single crochet. Similarly into the next stitch, make 2 single crochets. So we're going to make an increase in each of the stitch, which means that we are going to make 2 single crochets in each stitch. since our previous round had 8 single crochets, so this round should have a total of 16 single crochets by the end of this round. So if you do not want to work in the spiral method where I am making a single crochet on top of the first stitch, in that case what you can do is you can slip stitch, chain one, and start the next round. So for this round, that is round number 3, we are going to make one single crochet in one stitch and 2 single crochets in the next stitch. So here one single crochet in one stitch and an increase in the next. So we will have a total of 24 single crochets by the end of round number 3. So once we are done with that, again we're removing our marker and making a single crochet on top of the first stitch and marking it back, and then we're going to make another single crochet in the next stitch and an increase in the third stitch. So make one single crochet in the first stitch, one single crochet in the second stitch, and in the third stitch make an increase such that you're making 2 single crochets in the same stitch. So repeat this so that you have a total of 32 stitches. Now we are in round number 5. So the pattern of round number 5 is to make one single crochet in the first 3 stitches, and into the fourth stitch we are going to make an increase. So into the fourth stitch make 2 single crochets into the fourth stitch. So repeat this pattern till the end of this round, and you should have a total of 40 single crochets by the end of this round. So this is the last round, after which we are going to start increasing the height of the basket. So this is the base. So for this next round we are going to work only in the back loop. So this is the back loop, and we're going to mark this first stitch, and into the remaining stitches also we're just going to work only in the back loop, and we're just going to make one single crochet in each stitch such that we have a total of 40 single crochet. So the back loop is nothing but each stitch, if you see, it is having 2 loops. If you see from the top, we're going to work on the loop which is on the back side of the stitch. So continue this and we will meet after we finish this round. And now we are almost reaching our stitch marker. So this working on the back loop happens only for this round alone. So the remaining rounds will be working on both the loops. So remove the marker and now make a single crochet on both the loops for the next round and put the stitch marker back. So here to this round, that is round number 7, we are just going to make one single crochet in each stitch. So the total number of stitches still remains 40, and just keep making one single crochet in each stitch. So the next, that is round number 8 to round number 12, we will be just making one single crochet in each stitch so that we are increasing the height of the basket, and the pattern remains the same, and the total stitch count at the end of each round also remains the same, that is 40. So repeat this pattern such that we have a total of 12 rounds. So here, as you can see, after round number 12 we have our here basket ready, and after this basket is ready we will just leave it as it is, and we are going to start making the soil. So for that, make a magic ring and chain one. This soil pattern is exactly the same as the basket, the base of the basket pattern. So like we did for the basket, we're just going to make 8 single crochet into the first that is into the magic ring, that is the first round. So here I'll go a little bit fast. If you would like to slow down the speed of the video, you can go to the settings and change the speed, and you can see the video at a pace that is suitable for you. I'm going in a little bit faster pace because we have already done this for the base of the basket, and it is exactly the same pattern. So similarly, round number 2, we are going to make an increase in each of the stitch, such that by the end of this round we will have a total of 16 single crochets. Now again, into the round number 3, we'll be making one single crochet and one increase alternatingly. So one single crochet and one increase into the next stitch. So repeat this till the end of this round as well. And after this we'll be moving on to round number 4. Here we will be making one single crochet in the first stitch, one single crochet in the second stitch, and in the third stitch we will make an increase, and by the end of this round we should have a total of 32 single crochet. So this is the soil where we are going to stitch our plant to, and then we're going to stitch this soil to the top of the basket. So this is the last round, that is the 5th round, and here we'll be making one single crochet in the first stitch, one single crochet in the second stitch, one single crochet in the third stitch, and an increase in the fourth stitch. So by the end of this round you should have a total of 40 single crochets. And once you're done with this, so you can see that this will fit exactly on top of this basket, because this is the same pattern that we made for the base of the basket as well. So you can slip stitch to the first stitch, chain one, and trim off the brown yarn. Now this brown yarn, I'm going to use a needle and stitch it into some of the existing stitches and pull it through the other side. So this other side, you need not stitch in the tail yarn fully if you want, because this is the wrong side of the soil, so it will be hidden inside the basket anyway. So here now we're going to stitch this plant or the branches to the soil. So we'll be stitching them in the circular manner. So we'll be using a needle for the long tail yarn, and once we have placed it in the circular manner over the soil, we are just going to use the needle and stitch the branches over the soil. So we'll be just passing the needle through the branches and through the connections between the branches, and we'll be stitching them to the soil. So there is no right or wrong way of doing this. Here I'm just stitching them by pulling the needle in and out through the stitches as shown here. So once I have made a complete round of stitching and I have reached the beginning point again, I'm going to tie it with the last tail yarn, and then I'm going to pass it through so that the tail yarns are on the wrong side of the soil, and I'm going to place a knot to make it extra secure. You don't have to trim off those tail yarns because it will be hidden inside the basket. And now we're going to place it over the basket, and as you can see, it fits perfectly. And if you remember the basket, we did not stitch off or the yarn, so I'm going to first make a slip stitch between the basket stitch and the soil stitch, and then I'm going to insert my hook through both the stitches and make a single crochet. So if you remember, the basket as well as the soil both should have a total of 40 stitches. So you can align the stitches of the soil and the basket and insert the hook through both of them and make a single crochet. So by the end of this round you should have made 40 single crochets to close this basket and soil gap. So make the stitches until you have a little bit of gap so that you can insert the fiber or filling or polyfill inside it. So for filling you can use scrap yarn as well. If you have leftover scrap yarn you can use that also as stuffing for this basket. So keep making the single crochets, and once you feel that you have stitched quite a lot, you can insert the polyfill or the scrap yarn inside into the basket, and then stitch the remaining and complete the remaining stitches. So we are going to just stitch until we reach the first stitch of this round, and once you reach the first stitch we will make the chains for hanging the basket. So this is the last stitch, and after the last stitch I'm going to make the first strand for the hanging basket. So I'm going to chain 20. Each strand will have 20 chains in it. So this is the first chain of 20. You can make chain of 20, tie it to the key ring and then trim off, or you can do it in this method where I'm chaining 20 and making a slip stitch over the key ring, and then I'm going to make a chain of 20 again and then connect it to the other side. So here we have less tail ends to stitch in. So chain 20 and on the other side. So if you want to count the stitches it will be 20 stitches away because you have 40 stitches. So the other side midpoint will be 20 stitches away. So you can slip stitch to the opposite side and make a slip stitch, chain 1, chain 1 and trim off the yarn. Now from this stitch we are going to make a slip knot and make 2 more strands. So now 10 stitches away from the first strand we are going to make another slip stitch, and then we are going to chain 20. So here too in a similar manner we are going to connect both the ends. We are going to chain 20 first and going to make a slip stitch over the ring. So make a slip stitch and you'll see that your strand is on the other side. So now make a slip stitch on the other side as well. So make a slip stitch so that you can move to the other side like this, and now you can chain 20. So you made the first slip stitch on this side and make another slip stitch to move to the other side, and then make a chain of 20, and we are going to connect this to the opposite side. So that opposite side will also be 10 stitches away from the first strand. Make a slip stitch, chain 1 and trim the yarn. So here all the 4 strands are done. So now we are just going to stitch them into the existing stitches and then pull them to the, if you have a longer tail yarn, you can use a needle and pull them through to the inside part of the basket, or you can use a crochet hook also and pull the tail yarn to the inner side of the basket so that they are hidden. So do that for all the tail yarns. So here you can see all the 4 strands are stitched to the basket, and which is connected to the keyring. So you can leave the keyring as it is, or you can make cover it with this white yarn. So for that, make a slip knot and slip stitch over the keyring, and now make single crochets over the keyring to cover the entire keyring. So you can skip this step if you are okay with having the keyring as it is, or you can make single crochets over the keyring and cover the keyring in white yarn as well. So there is no specific count for this single crochets. You just make the single crochets until the entire keyring is covered with it. And after you reach the first stitch, you can just chain one and leave a long tail and trim off the yarn. So trim off the yarn, and now we are going to roll this long tail yarn over the 4 strands so that we have a more sturdy uh, 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 so that it looks more sturdy. So just wrap the long tail yarn over the 4 chains, and after wrapping them over first and you feel that it is sturdy enough, you can use a needle. So use a needle to place 2 knots. So insert it through the stitches and through the wraps, and then place 2 knots, and after that insert the needle to the through the center and pull through it, and then trim the yarn off. So the tail yarn also gets hidden here, and here our hanging basket is ready. And as you can see, it looks very cute, and you can hang it along with your other life plants, or you can use it as a decor for your car as well. So do subscribe to my channel and click on the bell icon for notifications, and give me a thumbs up guys if you found this video useful. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great day everybody.